we are going to start the formation of tissues of the body. So first, before starting this, I need to say that first we'll start the theory part and later we will check out all the diagrams in our book so that we can get a clear overview of the full chapter. So what are the major basic tissues of our body that which our body is made? Is mainly epithelium tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue. So epithelium tissue is nothing but forming a continuous sheets. So it lines external surfaces, internal surfaces and all the body cavities present in a body. And the connective tissue is nothing but connecting all these tissues together. It includes it is divided into loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue, adipose tissue, blood, cartilage, bone, special connective tissue. So we are going to study everything detail now in this, that how, as we are now in embryology, so we will understand how these all things are formed one by one. And next, coming to muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is mainly of three types like striated, cardiac and the smooth muscle. And next, coming to the nervous tissue. So nervous tissue is nothing but having the neurons, that is nerve cells, which contain axons and dendrons, and also it contains the cells of neuroglia. So neuroglia is nothing but the supporting cells. So first let us see how our epithelium tissue is developed in our fetus or in our embryo time. So first we know that ectoderm. In our trilaminar disc, if you remember, we are having the layers like ectoderm, middle mesoderm and innermost endoderm. So these three layers we know, and many of them think that epithelium tissue is only divided from ectoderm as it is outer layer surfacing of a body, but no, it is also divided from mesoderm and also endoderm. So ectoderm is mainly giving its tissue part that is forming epithelium, mainly covering the external surface. Like examples, by seeing examples you can understand means in which external surface it is lining, that is skin, hair, sweat glands, sebaceous glands, mammary glands. So here all these structures are which are open to the outside environment. So these are nothing but external surfaces. So these are lined by the epithelium, which is derived from the ectoderm. So you can remember the structures which are outside, which are exposed outside to the environment are mainly lined by epithelium tissue derived from the ectoderm. So and one more like cornea, conjunctiva, external acoustic meatus, outer tympanic membrane in our ear, and mouth, anal canal, male urethra, female external genitalia. So all these structures are lined by the ectoderm derived epithelium. Now next, coming to the mesoderm derived epithelium, that is urogenital. As the name you can understand, it aligns all the urinary cavities, genital tracts, etc. And also it covers heart, blood vessels, lymphatics, mesothelium of pericardial, peritoneal and pleural cavities of joints. Next, coming to endothelium. So endothelium gives rise to gut, liver, means endothelium derived epithelium lines gut, liver, pancreas, auditory tube, middle ear, respiratory tract, urinary bladder, urethra and vagina. So now let us see how the glands are developed. So we have completed epithelium. Now how glands are developed. So we know mainly we are having two types of glands, exocrine, endocrine, and from these glands are nothing but the diverticula which are forming from our epithelium itself. So the epithelium only forming some diverticula and forming the glands. So the branch, if the diverticula is having only branch of one diverticulum, then it is seen in parotid gland, and if it is having several diverticulums, then it is seen in lacrimal gland, prostate gland. And opening at the site of the outgrowth, that is nothing but outgrowth, glands are having outgrowths, so they open at the site of the outgrowths mainly. So ectodermal derived glands are sweat glands, mammary glands, you can remember like MS, and endothelium derived endoderm derived glands are pancreas, liver, and mesoderm derived glands are adrenal cortex, or also known as mixed origin gland, that is prostate gland. Now we need to understand that diverticula are divided into proximal part and distal part. So for this I need to show a small diagram like this. For example, this is a proximal part and this is a distal part. So the distal part have the secretory elements and the proximal part forms the duct. So by this all the secretions get out. So this is diverticula divided into proximal and distal part. And is coming to solid. So diverticula next converted into solid, which is canalized, that is like this canal, a channel is formed, and it begins the form of secretion, maybe in exocrine or endocrine. We know in endocrine it directly secretes into our bloodstream, and in exocrine it secretes into our other body, by ducts it secretes out. So next let us go into mesenchyme. So mesenchyme is also nothing but derived from the mesoderm itself. So mesoderm, if it is in a loose connective tissue, a loose structure, then it is known as mesenchyme. So it is its small part. Mesoderm small part is forming epithelium tissue and its larger part is forming the mesenchyme. Just now we have seen in epithelium it is also derived from mesoderm. So only small part contributes to formation of epithelium tissue, but in mesoderm large part is forming the mesenchyme, that is a loose tissue. So the mesenchyme have chondroblasts, osteoblasts, so all these are part of mesenchyme. Chondroblasts, in the name you can understand, forming cartilage, osteoblasts forming bone, myoblasts forms muscle, and lymphoblasts and hemocytoblasts, which form, in the name you can understand, lymph related tissues. Hemocytomens forming various cells of blood, and endothelial cells we know which form blood vessels, heart tubes of the primitive type are formed, and remaining cells form the connective tissue, which is of various types. So next let us see connective tissue. So connective tissue have cells, fibers, ground substance. About connective tissue we have discussed a lot in our histology section. You can check out there. So fibers are mainly synthesized by fibroblasts in a connective tissue. If you remember, we discussed this like a jungle which contains fibers, cells, ground substance, right? So the connective tissue which is loose connective tissue is nothing but mesenchyme. So mesenchyme has fibroblasts in it. This fibroblast forms a ground substance, and also it leads to synthesis of collagen fibers, reticular fibers, elastic fibers. So fibroblasts have very high capacity to form all the fibers and also to form the ground substance. So fibroblast plays a main role in case of connective tissue. So mesenchyme in a connective tissue convert to the histiocytes, mast cells, plasma, and also fat cells. Different types of cells are formed from the mesenchyme. And next, coming to blood formation. So blood formation, blood is also a kind of fluid connective tissue, right? The blood formation should be rapid in embryo because embryo is very highly growing stage, so it should be rapid. Increase in the blood development with the growth of the embryo, right? Blood it's required for the nutrition for the growing embryo. And by the third week, the blood vessels along with the cells are present in the wall of the yolk sac. That is around the allantoic diverticulum along with the connecting stalk. So in allantoic diverticulum connecting stalk in the wall of yolk sac, we can, at the third week, you can check the blood vessels and the cells are present over there. So the cluster of mesoderm forms blood islands, which are nothing but the precursor of the hemangioblasts. This hemangioblasts, in the name you can understand, it leads to the formation of blood vessels and also different types of cells related to the blood. So cells in the center of, so as we said, the blood islands are formed. So island is nothing but the cells are forming like periphery cells and inner cells. So cells in the center of the island are mainly forming the precursors of all blood cells like hematopoietic stem cells. And cells in the periphery of the island are forming the precursors of the blood vessels, that is angioblasts, etc. So blood cells in the blood islands of yolk sac may be temporary and they are replaced mainly by permanent stem cells. So these permanent stem cells arise from the mesoderm around the aorta. And next, stem cells are first formed colonies in the liver. So stem cells are first forming colonies mainly in the liver. Till the 6th month, liver produce blood, that is in the late embryonic period. But in the mid prenatal life, from the liver the stem cells get migrated to the bone marrow, and even at the time of birth there are totipotent heme cells which are present, and also pluripotent lymphoid stem cells along with the pluripotent heme stem cells. These all are forming colony forming units which lead to formation of red blood cells, platelets, white blood cells, etc. So these are forming colony forming units over there. These are also known as burst forming colonies. These are also known as forming units, not colonies. Okay. And next, in adult, so till now we have understood first that blood cells are forming in the liver, later they are migrated to the bone marrow even at the time of birth, and after the time of birth and also till adulthood, we know even now in most of our bodies bone marrow is producing red blood cells and all blood cells. In adult, the blood formation mainly takes place in a marrow, lymph node, thymus and spleen. So these are main blood forming organs in a adult. And the blood cells are mesodermal in origin and they differentiate in the yolk sac, liver and maybe endodermal in origin. In liver they may be endodermal in origin, but the blood cells differentiate in the yolk sac. So till now we have seen that the epithelial tissue is formed from ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, and glands are mainly formed from diverticula of epithelium, means nothing but they're also having different types like ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. And mesenchyme, we have said it is forming larger part, is forming all the cells, major cells required, and the remaining part is forming connective tissue. So the connective tissue, as in here only we have seen that the mesoderm is forming remaining connective tissue. So of course connective tissue is of mesenchyme or mesodermal in origin, and blood also is a type of fluid connective tissue. So even blood is a origin from mesoderm. So till now we have seen mesenchyme, blood cells, and these are all of mesodermal in origin. But the glands and epithelium cells are of three types, like from ectoderm, mesoderm and also endoderm. And now let us see cartilage formation. So cartilage formation is also here. Mesenchyme is closely packed. This is also formed from mesenchyme because cartilage is also a part of connective tissue. So the mesenchyme are closely packed and forming a mesenchymal condensation, which lead to the formation of chondroblast. If the chondroblast is present between the lamellae or developing layers, then it is known as chondrocytes. And next, the intercellular substance is laid down and the fibers are getting deposited over here. So next, the hyaline cartilage have mainly collagen fibers, and the fibrocartilage have high amount of collagen fibers, and there is no perichondrium in the fibrocartilage. This is important. And elastic fibers have elastic fibers. So about this all cartilages we have already discussed in detail in our histology. And the mesenchyme surrounds a surface forming a fibrous membrane, perichondrium. So we know perichondrium is formed on the outer layer of the cartilages, which mainly surrounds it, and the perichondrium is not present in our fibrocartilage. Next, coming to the bone. So bone is having mainly three types of cells, that are osteocyte, osteoblast and osteoclast. Osteocyte is present in a mature bone, osteoblasts are the bone forming cells, and the osteoclasts are bone removing cells. So let us see in detail of osteoblasts. They are bone forming cells, they are looking like epithelium, and they are having mainly basophilic cytoplasm. Baso means blue colored cytoplasm, that is basic in structure, and they are having mainly actively proliferating cells in the case of osteoblast. This is the main cell required for the formation of bone. But osteoclast is a bone removal cell, that is, they are multinucleated large cells which mainly degenerate or destroy the bone. Now let us understand the process of formation of bone. So all bone is mainly of mesodermal in origin. Here also you can understand, because bone is also a type of connective tissue, so this is also of mesodermal origin. So bone formation takes place mainly by a process known as ossification. So ossification may be of two types, like endochondral ossification and intramembranous ossification. What is this endochondral ossification means? The cartilageous model is formed first, and later so these bones are also called cartilage bones. Later this cartilageous model is replaced by the bone. This is mainly known as endochondral ossification. So there is a very big flow chart to continue about this endochondral ossification. So in endochondral ossification, as I said, this is also mesodermal in origin. So the mesenchyme condensation is also formed here. Next, the chondroblasts appear, that is mainly forming the hyaline cartilage, and on the surface there is perichondrium is formed, and it is vascular and mainly containing the osteogenic cells in it. And next, the cells get enlarged, and at the bone formation site, and the intercellular space is also enlarged, and it is calcified, and it is mainly calcified under the alkaline phosphatase enzyme. And next, they leave some empty spaces in between, that is forming the primary areolae. And next, after this end of this lecture, once I said I will revise pictures which are present in a textbook, so that it will be easy to understand this process. So they leave the empty spaces called primary areolae, and next, the blood vessels of the perichondrium get invaded. So next, the blood vessels of perichondrium invade, that is, perichondrium's outer surface, so they invade like this towards inside, and calcified cartilaginous matrix is formed along with the osteogenic cells which are present in that. And next, the periosteal bud is formed, and next, large secondary areola are formed. As we seen here, primary areola formed. Now here the secondary areola are formed, and next, the next osteogenic cells are converted to the osteoblast, means now the bone is going to form here, and arranged as bars of calcified cartilaginous matrix. And next, the osseous fibrils are in the gelatinous matrix forming the osteoid. So if the osseous fibrils are in the gelatinous matrix, it is known as osteoid. And as the calcified lamellus of the bone is formed, another layer of osteoid over the first lamellus. This is calcified and second lamella. So like this, upon one lamina, another lamina started forming, and here the site osteoblast cells are proliferating very actively. And between the lamina or the osteocytes, some of the osteocytes are caught and the bony trabeculae is getting formed over there. And the cartilage cells die off and the bone is seen. So this is how a cartilage converts into a bone. This is a very long flow chart. This is also we are already discussed in our histology lecture, so that you can get a clear idea. And now let us move on to our membranous, intramembranous ossification. So what is this? In a vault of the skull, the bone directly formed in a fibrous membrane. There is nothing but intramembranous ossification. So here the example is a vault of the skull. It is mainly known as membranous bones. So if they are formed from cartilage, then cartilage bone. If they are formed from membrane, then is membranous bones. So membranous bones examples are like mandible, clavicle, vault of skull, etc. So development of the long bone. Now let us see this flow chart. We have completed endochondral ossification. Now we will see the development of long bone. So again same mesenchymal condensation, cartilaginous model along with the perichondrium, and superior it is fibrous and deep forming osteogenic cells. Next again it undergoes endochondral ossification. So endochondral ossification, the process already we have discussed. So remember that in a growth of a development of a long bone also follows the same endochondral ossification. That is, first the cartilaginous model is formed and next it is replaced by a bone. So once again let us revise it very fast. So primary center of ossification is formed, enlarge the cartilage, perichondrium is formed. Remember that the primary center of ossification always forms in a diaphysis, that is nothing but the shaft of the bone. And next enlarge the cartilage, perichondrium is formed, and now it's called the periosteum. So remember, perichondrium is called periosteum. Periosteum, it's a outer layer covering of a bone, shaft of the bone. Now this activates and osteogenic cells are formed. They undergo the intramembranous ossification. So remember that in the development of a long bone we are having both type of ossification, that is our endochondral ossification and also intramembranous ossification. So in the intramembranous ossification the periosteal collar is formed, which leads to formation of secondary areolae. Secondary areolae is mainly weak because of the periosteal collar. And next a diaphysis or shaft is formed, which is having the primary center, and the secondary centers are formed in the ends of the bone. That is nothing but we know ends of the bones are epiphysis, and next they are separated by the epiphyseal cartilage. We know epiphyseal cartilage is the main zone where the growth of the bone take place. That is elongation of the bone, as we humans get improved in our height because of growth of this epiphyseal cartilage. So that's it till now. Now let us move on to the growth of the bone flow chart. So there are three important flow charts in this lesson. So growth of the bone, increase in the length and thickness, that is periosteal bone is getting together thicker and thicker. So the osteoclasts reach there and remove the bone from inside. So here remove the trabecula and form a marrow cavity. So this osteoclast is now trying to form a marrow cavity. This is how the growth of the bone takes place. And next the shaft of the bone, that is our diaphysis, is also growing in the diameter, and the size is also increasing in the marrow, and the reach up to the diaphysis but not epiphysis. Remember that bone marrow only reaches up to the diaphysis but not epiphysis. At the epiphysis, if you remember, there is a spongy bone, right? So all endochondral part is removed, that is all cartilage part is removed, and only intramembranous process remains, so that now the bone is formed perfectly along with the marrow cavity present inside. So now let us see, there are three zones of formation of growth of bone. So first is the zone of resting cartilage. Here the cells are small, irregular in arrangement. In the zone of proliferating cartilage, here the cells are larger. They undergo repeated mitosis and they are in parallel columns, and they are separated by the intracellular matrix. And the zone of calcification, here the cells are more large and the matrix is also calcified. And after the zone of calcification, remember that the next zone is dead zone. And next they grow in length by continuous transformation of epicartilage to the bone, and when epiphysis along with the diaphysis, then this process is known as fusion of epiphysis. Whenever epiphysis get fused with the diaphysis, then this process is known as fusion of epiphysis. Next, coming to metaphysis. Metaphysis is between the diaphysis and epiphysis. So this, if I show the diagram now later, then you can understand it easily. So metaphysis is the active bone formation region that is mainly highly vascular because it's active bone, so it should be highly vascular, and there is no marrow cavity in metaphysis. This is important. Only in diaphysis we have our marrow cavity. In metaphysis no marrow cavity. Even in epiphysis there is no marrow cavity. And a calcium turnover is a major process which is going on here, so it is also known as the storehouse of calcium. So remember that metaphysis is a storehouse of calcium, and the metaphysis is a frequent site of infection. So there are a lot of infections going on in the metaphysis. Next, coming to the tissue. So how the tissue grows? The tissue grows mainly by the two methods, that is the multiplication of cells or by increase in the intercellular material, that is interstitial growth. Example, you can take cartilage here. So bone grow mainly by deposition of more bone on the surface at the ends. This is known as appositional growth. So there are two types of growth, that is interstitial and appositional growth. In interstitial growth only the multiplication of cells takes place and intercellular material gets increased. But in the case of our bone growth, upon one grown again one more part of bone get attached, and it's like appositional, that is at the ends it is growing. What is remodeling? Remodeling is removing unwanted bone to maintain the proper shape. So if you remove unwanted bone, only a proper bone is remain and it is in a correct shape. So example, you can take internal rebonding of trabeculae and Hebesian system to bear the stress. Then is coming to anomalies. Anomalies like bone anomalies. What are the problems occurring in bone? So in anomalies we are having irregular mass of cartilage in metaphysis, that is known as dyschondroplasia or endochondromatosis, and abnormal bone mass in metaphysis which protrudes out, then it is known as exotosis or multiple diaphyseal eclasia. Remember that in dyschondroplasia there is excessive proliferation of cartilage cells in the epiphyseal plate and there is failure to replace by bone. And next, calcification. When calcification is abnormal, that is forming multiple fractures, it is osteogenesis imperfecta, and the parts of the bone are replaced by fibrous tissue. Then it is fibrous. This is called fibrous dysplasia. And whenever there is high amount of density of the bone, then it is called osteosclerosis. Example is osteopetrosis or marble bone disease. And next, coming to achondroplasia. It is an insufficient or disorder formation of epiphyseal cartilage. And here the person in achondroplasia is dwarf, that is very small in height. In vertebra also they may become short. Then it is known as chondro-osteodystrophy. And next, the membrane bones are abnormal here, like it is known as cleidocranial dystosis, that is clavicle is absent, skull is abnormal, and achondroplasia along with exotosis is seen in only cartilage bones. Next, coming to generalized underdevelopment, that is causing dwarfism, or overdevelopment, then it is known as gigantism. So 1.5 of the body bones are affected, asymmetrical development, and overdevelopment or underdevelopment may be localized. So example, 2 digits and 2 limbs. So these are all the examples till now we covered of our bone. So now let us go into formation or development of muscle. So it's like video is getting longer, but I want to complete it in one video. So after seeing this video, you can get a very nice idea or overview of a chapter. So once if you read the textbook and check out the diagrams, it would be very useful. So formation of muscle. So formation of muscle, we know skeletal muscle which have which is formed from somites and somatomeres and the lateral plate mesoderm. If I show the diagram, you will be clear about this. In the lateral plate mesoderm only we are having are somites, and next lateral plate paraxial mesoderm. In paraxial mesoderm only we are having a somites and somatomeres, and also remember that skeletal muscle may also be developed from the lateral plate mesoderm. And next, coming to the formation of muscle. Muscle, it is formed by myoblasts. Myoblasts may produce actin and myosin, and if the several myoblasts are fusing together, they form a multinucleated tube that is called as myotubes. And actin and myosin along with the contractile proteins forms the myofibrils. So aggregation of fibrils move the nuclei towards the periphery, and there are satellite cells around the muscle fibers which are mainly supportive cells which support the growth of the fibers, that is our myofibrils. Next, let us see details of somites. So somites which are present in the head are known as somatomeres. Here mainly somatomeres are formed in the head. And somites are divided into ventromedial, lateral. So let us see what are those. Ventromedial is nothing but sclerotome, which migrate medially and rise to the vertebrae. It give rise to the vertebral column and also ribs. So vertebral column and ribs are formed from the ventromedial part of somites. And next coming to the lateral dermatome, it migrate and lie in deep surface of the ectoderm. It covers almost the entire body of dermis and subcutaneous tissue of the skin. But remember one thing, that the dermis of our back of head, trunk, which are mainly formed from the dermatome, but other dermis in our whole over the body is mainly derived from the lateral plate mesoderm. This is important. And next coming to myotome, myotome leads to formation of striated muscle. Cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, all these spinal nerve innervate their myotome, but coaxial region somites are exceeding the number of spinal nerves and they degenerate later. Cranial is not most cranial. What is this? You can get confused. Cranial part of a somite is not most cranial. Cranial to it, there are also other somites like occipital somites, which are like muscle of tongue, and they are supplied by hypoglossal nerve, and preoccipital or preaortic somites, which are supplied by 3, 4, 6 cranial nerves. So preoccipital is an extrinsic muscle of an eyeball. It also forms the extrinsic muscle of the eyeball. And the myotome in our neck and trunk, which form the dorsal part, that is known as epimere, which is supplied by dorsal primary ramus of a spinal nerve, and also ventral part, that is hypomere. Hypomere is giving origin to muscles which are supplied by the ventral ramus. And next coming to epimeres. Epimeres origin to the back of the muscles, that is extensors of the vertebral column, and hypomeres give origin to the muscles of the body wall and also limbs. And dermomyotomes are ventrolateral region, migrate to the parietal layer of the lateral mesoderm, and they form the muscles of the limbs, anterior lateral muscles of neck and also abdomen. And next coming to the smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is derived from mesenchyme, muscle of iris, sphincter, dilated pupil and myoepithelial cells of it come from the ectoderm. And then the walls of the viscera, stomach, which are formed by the splanchnopueric mesoderm, even in the heart. Next coming to cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is from the splanchnopueric mesoderm in relation to developing heart tubules and also pericardium. And nervous tissue, here the cells along with the fibers and blood vessels are present. Neurons along with neuroglia, we know neuroglia are supporting cells, neurons which generate and conduct nerve impulse. So neurons are mainly formed in a neural tube, and they are lined by single layer of cells which proliferate to form several cell layers, and they have a lumen with a matrix cell layer also known as primitive ependymal or germinal layer. So blood vessels also enter the nervous tissue from the surrounding mesoderm. And next we have a layer called as mantle layer, which contains the neuroglia and nerve cell developed. So in diagrams we can clear all this. And outer layer is a marginal zone. There are no nerve cells. They have the reticulum, that is spongioblast, and they provide the framework for the mantle layer to grow. Next coming to the formation of nerve. So the germinal cell go to the mantle layer, form apolar neuroblast along with the two process to form the bipolar neuroblast. Next they convert into one neuroblast, disappear, forming a unipolar neuroblast, and next a numerous process elongation takes place. Multiplural neuroblast is formed. They grow to the marginal layer. They form the axon. Next they form the dendroids. A small process of neuroblasts are formed, and they ramify and also connect to the other nerve cells, forming a Nissl granules are appeared, and the neurons lose the ability to divide. Next the neuroglial cells are formed from the ependymal layer. Glioblasts migrate to the mantle and marginal zone as medulloblast and also known as spongioblast. So this give rise to astroblasts, which are also forming astrocytes, oligodendroblasts into oligodendrocytes. And the third type of neuroglial cell is formed, that is microglia, which is of mesodermal in origin. Next coming to the ependymal cells or neuroepithelial cells, both are having neuroblasts and also neuroglia. So what is this neuroblast? It is formed first, but the neuroglia is formed after the differentiation of neuroblasts. Next they are formed. And next coming to the myelin sheath formation, that is nerve fibers on in our brain, spinal cord, these are ensheathed by neuroglial cells. And in a peripheral nervous system, neurolemma, it is by mainly Schwann cells only, and the sheet is derived from the Schwann cells. This is about myelin sheath formation. In and out of the CNS sheet formed between the neurolemma and axon, that is the myelin sheet. But in central nervous system there are no Schwann cells. The myelin sheet is formed by the oligodendrocytes. So that's it. So this was like just mere reading, because these are all important points to remember. So just if you read, you can easily understand. Next coming to the axon. Axon is mainly invaginating the cytoplasm of Schwann cell, and the line of invagination have the cell membrane of the Schwann cell become drawn into double layered mesentery, which is forming mesoaxon. It's spirally wound around the axon, and if contains fat cells into them, then it is forming myelin sheet. So in unmyelinated neurons, there is no mesoaxon elongation and invaginates same squam cells, and the myelination begin during the 4th month of intrauterine life, and it is not completed until 2 to 3 years of newborn. And next, the nerve fibers are functional fully only after the myelin sheets are formed. And blood vessels along the connective tissue, we know it's of mesodermal in origin, and they are not derived from the neural tube. This is important. Pia and arachnoid matter, that is, pia and arachnoid together known as leptomeninges. These are derived from the neural crest cells, and the dura mater is derived from the mesoderm of the surrounding neural tube. Now, once discuss all the diagrams. So here first one you can see is a solid downgrowth from the epithelium. This is about a typical gland. So you can see this is a branching of the gland, this is a canalization of the gland, and this is a formation of echinae which form the secretory elements and get out from the duct. So you can see this is the mesenchymal cells with delicate cytoplasm process joining the cells to one another. And what are the derivations of mesenchymal cells? So from the mesoderm, what type of cells? Mesodermal origin give rise to mesenchymal cell. They may form fibroblasts to form collagen fibers, histiocyte form tissues, mast cells form beta lymphocytes, plasma cells it's plasma cell only, fat cell into adipose cells, reticular cells form reticular fibers, chondroblast to chondrocyte to cartilage, osteoblast to osteocyte to bone, osteoclast with destruction of the bone, endothelium to lining capillaries, myoblast to muscles, hemocytoblast, lymphoblast, that is precursors of cells of blood which form RBC, WBC and platelets. Next, this is a formation of blood cells and blood vessels from a blood island. As I said, in blood island, outer cells and inner cells. So you can say outer cells are forming endothelial cells and inner cells are forming blood cells. And these are mesodermal cells of the blood island become hemangioblasts and the epithelium lining the yolk sac. This is the cubical cells lining the secondary yolk sac, splanchnopureic extraembryonic mesodermal cells forming the blood islands. And this is a scheme to show the how colony forming unit all those form. So you can see these are the totipotent heme stem cells which form pluripotent lymphoid stem cells, T cell precursor, B cell precursor, T cell form T lymphocyte, B cell form B lymphocyte, and the pluripotent heme cells are divided into colony forming units, different colony forming units. Later these colony forming units through various stages they form mast cells and basophils. Here they form eosinophils, neutrophils, monocytes, erythrocytes. We know different granulocytes, right? And here you can see megakaryoblast into megakaryocytes finally forming platelets. And this is the osteocytes place among lamellae how to form a bone. You can see the unit of bone structure lamellus. Bone acquired thickness by stacking of lamella over one another. Between the adjoining laminae you can see there are spaces called lacunae, and these spaces are occupied by cells of bone, that is osteocytes. And the osteocytes are placed among the lamella of bone. So the osteocyte in the lacuna, caniculae, lamellus, and the capillaries in the bone marrow. This is the structure of bone. Actually, we have already discussed all this detail in our histology. So once let us check out the labeling. That's it. So this is the bony trabeculae, marrow cavity, Haversian canal, Haversian system, right? And here relationship of osteoclast to developing bone, osteoclast removing bone. We know that osteoblast laying down the bone. And you can see the endochondral ossification, that is how the cartilage is forming the bone here, right? So finally the bone has formed here finally. And this is endochondral ossification, formation of primary and secondary areolae. So first perichondrial matrix, cartilage cells, calcified mass, empty space, primary alveolus. So this is a primary alveoli, dying cartilage cell. This is secondary alveoli. So all this now fuse together. So this intermediate space is gone and they fuse together, form a secondary alveoli. And these are the bars of the calcified matrix. And here we have the endochondral ossification. First one you can see osteoblasts are outside the bar of calcified matrix. Osteoid layer 1 is formed. So like this different osteoid layers are formed at last along with lamella. As osteoid is moving further, the lamella start forming further. And here the scheme to show how bone grows in length. So bone has increased in length here. So how it is growing, you can see cartilage has proliferated. So cartilage proliferation over a year leads to formation of length of the bone. And you can see how a typical long bone is established. Limb bud, ectoderm, loose mesenchymal condensation, cartilage formed by conversion of mesenchymal cells to cartilage cells. And here's the perichondrium. And the formation of typical long bone, primary center of ossification and periosteal collar. So cartilage is nodal, primary center of ossification, periosteal collar. So this is the collar, periosteal collar. This blue one you can see, this is the periosteal collar. The cartilaginous model has grown larger, bone formation has extended towards the ends from the primary center. Periosteal collar is also elongated. And next, cartilaginous epiphysis, diaphysis, periosteal collar, cartilaginous epiphysis. Secondary centers, as I said, it forms in epiphysis, primary centers in diaphysis. So this is the diaphysis, this is the epiphysis, and this is the epiphyseal plate, and here somewhere lies the metaphysis, right? Yeah, metaphysis. And articular cartilage to articulate with other bones to form joints, right? Bone epiphysis. Yeah, marrow cavity will be in the middle. So outer layer is periosteum, and the lining layer of marrow cavity is the endosteum. So periosteal bone, endochondral bone, this we already discussed in our histology. This is structure of epiphyseal cartilage. Yeah, I said the different zones like zone of proliferating, zone of calcified mass, zone of ossification, so all those zones. And this is the remodeling. If you remember, remodeling means removal of unwanted bone and to maintain the shape of the bone. So you can see how the shape is found, and this is the area of the bone that is removed because it is it's in a different shape. So we need to maintain a proper shape and proper growth. So we do the process of remodeling. And next here we have our somites. So this is an ectoderm, this is a neural tube, above we have notochord, this is endoderm, this is a paraxial mesoderm. So paraxial mesoderm is divided into somites, and the somites starting part is sclerotome, and this back part is dermomyotome, and dermomyotome is further divided into, you can see, myotome, dermatome. Dermatome form dermis of the skin, myotome form muscles of the body, and sclerotome leads to formation of vertebral column, ribs. You can see myotome forms striated muscle, dermatome forms dermis of the back of the head, trunk, and most of the dermis of the body is mainly formed from the lateral plate mesoderm, that you need to remember. So this is all sclerotome. So all this myotome gives origin to muscles, and cells of sclerotome migrate medially surround the neural tube. Cells of dermatome migrate to surface, form dermis of the skin. Epimeer is innervated by dorsal lammus, hypomeer innervated by ventral lammus. Cells derived from the sclerotome form the mesenchymal basis of vertebra. Actually, one more point is a sclerotome like this forms a ring, and it forms different compartments. This is a ventral compartment, this is a dorsal compartment, and these are the lateral compartments of a sclerotome. And next, layers of the neural tube. So how the neural tube forms, you can see this is the neural tube, this is the lateral wall, this is the cavity. As we have discussed, many layers like germinal layer, mantle layer, marginal layer. So you can see this is the outer marginal layer, middle mantle layer, inner germinal layer. So this is the germinal layer, mantle layer, marginal layer, and the neuroglial cells and the nerve fibers, nerve cell, neuron enters like this. And here you can see the stages of formation of a typical neuroblast. So first one is a apolar neuroblast, next it forms a bipolar neuroblast, again unipolar neuroblast, not apolar, here now unipolar, you can see one process, here bipolar, two processes are formed, and next multipolar, you can see many processes with one axon and dendrites, small process, here the dendrites, axon and nerve terminal. So we know. So that's it. And how the myelin sheet forms, and one more point here is derivation of nerve cells, neurons and neuroglial cells. So from neural tube, neurons, fibroastrocytes, protoplasmic astrocyte, oligodendroglia, ependymal cell. And from neural crest, schwann cells, dorsal nerve root ganglion cells, cells of other sensory ganglia, neurons and sympathetic ganglia. And from mesenchymal cells, microglia, oligodendroglia, and also dura mater. And here you can see how the schwann cells forms. So first one, you can see axon lies near the schwann cell, right? Axon lying near the schwann cell, and you can see the axon is invaginating into the schwann cell, and the mesoaxon is formed by further invagination. So when axon enters like this, and the part of the schwann cell which is surrounding like this is known as mesoaxon, and in between this mesoaxon, if the fat adipose tissue is depositing, then it forms a myelin sheet around the nerve. So the mesoaxon elongates and begins to wind around the axon. So the mesoaxon makes several turns around the axon, lipids are deposited between. So the myelin sheet is formed. A thin layer of schwann cells cytoplasm persists as neurilemma. Even schwann cell is forming neurilemma in our peripheral nervous system. So in peripheral nervous system only we have schwann cells, but in the central nervous system we are having our oligodendrocyte, right? So here the relation of unmyelinated nerve fibers to a schwann cell. So schwann cell, in case of unmyelinated means there is no myelin sheet formed in this case. So here you can see there are different axons entering into only one schwann cell. So what schwann cell can do now? It will not form any kind of sheet around it. So you can say to a squamous cell, note that the number of axons invaginate into only single squamous cell and that the mesoaxons remain short. So that's it. By this we complete our whole chapter of 7th lesson. So now we can easily study it and complete it. So next we are starting with our 8th lesson.